So after a long wait, we've finally got a first trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody, and in this video, I'm going to go through it, analyze it shot by shot, and break it down for you guys. So to start off this trailer, we get the classic call and response between Freddie and the audience from Live Aid. If you're a Queen fan with a keen ear, you'll actually notice that this isn't Freddie's actual audio from the Live Aid concert. What it is Mark Martell's vocals. For those of you who don't know, Mark Martell is basically a singer who is very famous for sounding very much like Freddie Mercury. When it comes to sounding like Freddie, there is no one better. So his role in this film is essentially to re-record parts of Freddie's audio that apparently weren't good enough quality. So it's going to be interesting to see what parts of the film they use Freddie's real vocals and what parts of the film they use Mark's vocals. My guess is they'll probably use Mark's vocals for most of the live stuff. I'm just guessing because the original studio stuff, when they're in the studio, when they're releasing songs and stuff like that, I think they'll put to use the multi-tracks to be able to isolate vocals and stuff like that. But obviously when they record the live show, they've obviously got background noise, they've got crowd, they've got all this kind of stuff, so it's probably not possible to do everything they want to do with the audio in the film. So what they've gone and done is got Mark to kind of re-record those bits, which at first I was kind of unsure about, but now I'm pretty keen on it. I think his vocals put with that image will work really well. It's just a matter of how those two vocals will blend. This is an interesting shot because here we see, again, I mean, the outfits and all that are on point. What is interesting is in the background here, we have Brian May playing an acoustic guitar. Now this is a show, by the looks of the outfits, from the Sheer Heart Attack era, I think, those kind of tours. But it's interesting because it doesn't look like their typical stage setup back here. Brian May sitting down playing an acoustic guitar, which is, I don't think, something he did often until kind of the mid-70s and The Love of My Life and 39 and Dreamers Ball, these kind of songs. So for him to be playing an acoustic guitar so early on in their career is quite interesting. This is one of those really cool shots in the trailer that I'm really excited about because it's obviously very, very early Queen, but it looks like it is one of the first meetings between Brian, Roger and Freddie. And if you can see in the background here in the back of this van, we've got the Smile logo back here. For those of you who don't know, Smile was the band that Brian May and Roger Taylor were a part of, along with Tim Staffel on vocals and bass guitar, before Freddie joined and they became Queen. So essentially what happened, which I think is what we'll see here, Tim leaves the band, Brian and Roger are a bit down in their luck, and then Freddie comes in and puts forward his desires to join the band. From here they go on to obviously rebrand themselves as Queen, and the story begins, I guess.
Let's go!
One of the things I've noticed in this trailer that I wasn't entirely expecting was how much early Queen stuff we're going to see, even pre-Queen stuff. A lot of the stuff we've seen previously, or so far to this point in the images and screenshots we've seen, has been in recognizable kind of iconic Queen concerts and tours and all this kind of stuff. It's interesting in this trailer to see so much more from kind of the very early Queen days, and it looks like we're going to spend a lot of time in between kind of their early days and Bohemian Rhapsody era, which is really cool. We've got our first shot here of Lucy Boynton as Mary Austin. This is a key component of the film, we've been told in the past. What's interesting here is that it almost looks like there's a bit of a mini story being told within the trailer. We get that shot of Freddie walking out on stage and capturing a glimpse of Mary Austin out of the corner of his eye, and she kind of grabs his attention. Then in the next shot we see he's there talking with Mary and he turns away from her as if something else has caught his eye. And it's kind of this idea that Freddie had a wandering eye when it came to people he was attracted to. And then we see this shot, which is something that I think a lot of people miss just judging by the comments. This is, I think, one of the only interaction in this trailer between Freddie and another man in terms of a romantic sense or a relationship sort of sense. It kind of plays into that point of Freddie having that wandering eye. And so here we see what I think is a representation of a part of the Queen story that was, or rumoured to be part of the Queen story, where Freddie was with Mary Austin. They were living together essentially, they were going out and living together, and Freddie had an affair with, I think, one of his record producers or something like that, and that was kind of his first homosexual relationship, I guess. So it looks like we're going to see that in the film. A couple of comments in some of these trailers I saw, people were talking about how it looked like they were just going to brush over his kind of gay side and just talk about his relationship with Mary. This is an indication, I think, that it's going to be anything but that. That obviously the Mary and Freddie relationship is going to be an important part of the story. I think we're also going to clearly get to see Freddie's relationship with other men and his struggles, particularly around the kind of early to mid 70s, with coming to that realization of who he was. This shot here is pretty interesting because it's obviously Rami as 80s Freddie, but it does look like one of these extravagant parties that Freddie was well known for. It is in a very small room though, so it's not a huge party obviously. There's a couple shots in this that kind of indicate we're going to see a lot of Freddie's wild partying lifestyle, particularly through the early 80s. That's pretty interesting to see.
She's a killer queen.
So if you're a Queen fan, you obviously know what this shot is. It is Freddie with Kenny Everett, who was a kind of a radio announcer back in the day, radio broadcaster. Basically, the part of the story of the legend of Bohemian Rhapsody is that Freddie handed Kenny a copy of Bohemian Rhapsody before it was released yet, and Kenny went on to play that a ridiculous number of times over the course of the weekend, and it was contributed to a large amount of the success that Bohemian Rhapsody had, being played on the major radio stations so often over the course of those 2 days that it really got ingrained in people's minds. So Kenny Everett played a huge part in the success of Bohemian Rhapsody, at least the early and initial success in getting it played on the radio. So this shot of Freddie stage diving and crowd surfing essentially copped a lot of heat from fans because Freddie was not really one to have a crowd surf or stage dive. Again, that's maybe part of the creative license they're taking with this, and it's a cool moment, I guess. Here we see the Hot Space press conference in the Hot Space era. This is obviously the very dramatic part of the story, the part where the Hot Space album, after a big success with their previous album, The Game, the Hot Space album was, I don't know if you'd say a failure, but it was a disappointment for a lot of people, and it didn't go down so well. You can kind of tell the guys at the press conference, you know, Freddie's got his head down, John's got his head down, the press are going nuts, and whenever the press are going nuts, it's usually because they think they've got a controversy or something. So followed up here by this shot, which looks like it's again around the same time, Queen in the studio and Freddie and Roger having a fight. Now if you're a Queen fan, you obviously know that arguments and bickering and stuff was something they did quite a bit. You know, there was a lot of fighting between them and fighting over creative differences, but in saying that, they have kind of said that that was part of what caused their success. You know, the fact that they were able to argue and get their opinions heard, and you win some, you lose some, but that's what made the creative output in the end as good as it was. See, at this stage, it going this far and Freddie and Roger actually coming to blows. Did this actually happen in this way? Who knows? But it's a cool part of the film. These are our first glimpses of an important location Queen story. Back around, I think what this is indicating is around the time of Bohemian Rhapsody, when they were recording the Night at the Opera album. They recorded it in a repurposed farmhouse, I think it was, or something like that.
So now what?
This is when the operatic section comes in.
Oh, the operatic section, yeah.
Mamma mia, mamma mia. Mamma mia, let me go. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. For me. For me.
When we look at the trailer, this is one of those real important moments. It's really our first look at what Rami's portrayal of Freddie is like. You know, I'm pretty sure it's the first time we've heard him deliver a line as Freddie. My biggest concern going into this movie was, I knew Rami looked the part. He doesn't look exactly like him, but no one's ever going to, so he looks good enough for me. I can also tell by the clips we've seen that it looks like Rami's got Freddie's mannerisms down pat, which is crucial to his performance and his portrayal of the character. But the last piece of the puzzle was, how was his accent going to sound? Because Freddie had a very unique and distinct British accent that I imagine would be hard to replicate, especially for Rami, who is American. I'll be honest, his accent and his voice is probably the weaker part of his portrayal from what we can see in this trailer, but in saying that, it's something I'm sure I'll be able to brush past, and once you're in the flow of the movie, you'll kind of get used to it. What deserves to be pointed out here, I think, is Gwilym Lee's performance as Brian May. Now, it's only 2 lines in this trailer that we can tell, so it may be the only good 2 lines he delivers in the film, but from what we can go on in this trailer, not only does he look the part of Brian May, his delivery of the lines and his voice particularly is so strong and so on point. Like, if you close your eyes, you would think that was Brian May talking. And this is something that I've seen a lot of people commenting on, both in these comment section here and across the web, is that his voice is so on point that you'd almost think was Brian May. So credit to Gwillem Lee, who, you know, everyone's focused on Rami's performance, and rightfully so, it is a Freddie movie. But Gwillem's performance here is something really strong, and it looks like he's going to nail his role, which is great. It's cool that in this trailer and in the film, obviously, we're going to see so much into the writing process of Bohemian Rhapsody. The band have kind of talked about how this was essentially Freddie's baby. It was all kind of in his head. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, but the band were often kind of like, not really sure what was going to happen next in the song. And so this is a cool kind of representation of that. It looks like we're going to get to see a lot of that. A lot of Queen fans are criticizing these shots because it shows John Deacon singing in the studio, which is something that I'm pretty sure he never did. John Deacon, by his own admission, couldn't sing. So having John in this shot has kind of annoyed some fans. Look, it's not 100% accurate, but I can put up with it. It looks cooler, I guess, if it's the four of them rather than just excluding him. So
Goes on forever, 6 bloody minutes.
I pity your wife if you think 6 minutes is forever.
I love this line. I think this line is hilarious. This is a very Freddie line, and it's very part of his kind of humor. It looks like there's going to be a real comedic element to this story as well, and a real good sense of humor from Freddie in particular and the rest of the members of the band, which is something that's important because Queen's sense of humor was so much of who they were and who Freddie was in particular.
We will rock you. Sing it! We will rock you.
So that's about it for this breakdown, guys. Hopefully there was probably a lot of stuff I missed, but if you noticed anything, leave it down in the comments and let us know what you thought of this trailer. Are you excited for the film? Are you more excited, less excited? Let us know down in the comments below. Also, remember that this is marked down as an official teaser trailer. So this is 1:30 and it's still only the teaser trailer. So we've got a lot more trailers to come. On from that, I think this is a great first trailer and the reception to it online seems to be pretty good as well. So leave us your thoughts on the trailer down in the comments below, and until next time, we will see you later, guys.